AV Shop Talk, Episode 23.
Podcasting from Boston, Massachusetts and Denver, Colorado, this is AV Shop Talk, covering the latest trends and emerging technologies in systems integration. This is where the AV pros come to talk shop. With your hosts, Nate Schneider and Jason Griffin.
Welcome back to the AV Shop Talk podcast, all you systems integrators and or pro AV enthusiasts who have just downloaded this podcast. Thanks for downloading. If you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome. Thanks for checking out the show. We'd love to have you subscribe and download this to your mobile device of choice or your desktop. However you consume the podcast, we'd love to have you. So normally I'm joined by my partner in crime, Jason, and he has the night off. So watch out. I'm going solo this time. It's one of those things as a podcaster. This is kind of a fun one for me and a test of kind of where I'm at with being a podcaster and growing and developing is doing a solo show. I've never done one really by myself before. All in one take. I mean, I've done, the Infocomm experience episode, but that was kind of, a patchwork of all kinds of clips from the Infocomm show all patched together. This is a little different, just kind of sitting down and just you and me. So I get to actually, focus on you, the listener, and just kind of giving you some information and sharing some stuff that I've learned with you as I record this. Just coming off of Thanksgiving weekend, lots to be thankful for this year. And, I didn't have this in my notes, but I did want to give a quick shout out to my family and to Jason's family. Doing the podcast is a labor of love, and it means we do have to spend time away from the family, up in the office, recording and doing show prep and planning and trying to come up with interesting topics. And, I feel like with it being Thanksgiving and all, I think it's a good point in time to just give a warm, heartfelt thank you to our wives and our children for, letting us escape for a little while on a Wednesday night to record episodes like this so that we can hopefully grow the community in the pro AV and systems integration world and, provide content that is valuable and useful and helps to move the industry forward in some small way. That's really what we're trying to do here. So, just a quick shout out to the family members for letting us do that. I really couldn't do it without them and without their support. So, now that Thanksgiving is over and we're in the season of Christmas, there's a lot to do with a lot of busy integration houses out there that are trying to meet last minute requests for clients that are trying to get all their money spent for the fiscal year if it ends in 2015. I know we're definitely seeing a lot of crazy times right now with all the year end budget stuff happening, and I'm sure you guys can relate. And so with that. Time is definitely scarce and it's a commodity. And in this episode, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about the season of preparation that I'm in preparing for the CTSD certification offered by Infocomm International. I do have to schedule nights of the week to study in little 1 hour or 2 hour blocks. And I have to try to fit those in wherever I can to try to get ready for this exam that's coming up. And it is a busy time of year to be doing it, but it's one of those goals that I've had for a really long time, and it's almost here. It's almost come to fruition, and I'm going to grind it out and try to get this. And what I wanted to do is share my approach to preparing for the CTSD exam, as well as some other options to prepare. And I've gathered a whole bunch of information. There's a ton of stuff to comb through here, but hopefully I can package it and present it in a way that makes sense to you listening that are, maybe you're also trying to do the CTSD. I mean, if you have no interest in the CTSD, you can just, skip this episode because it's probably not going to be all that interesting for you. But if you're, curious about it, it's been on the back burner for you. It's one of those things that you aspire to, that you really want to get that D. Maybe you've had the CTS for a while and you want to take things to the next level. Maybe this is an episode for you to get a nice refresher about just some general information about where the CTSD is and logistics about, how to get it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I figured, why not make an episode of AV Shop Talk that kind of packages up some of the info that I have been immersing myself in. And so hopefully this will help you jumpstart things and, figure out your own personal prep strategy. Before I get too far into the logistics, and of course I've got a list of free resources. I've got a list of 20 free resources for you that you can find online on the Infocomm website. I'm going to just read through them just so you guys, get familiar with the lingo and kind of what's out there and what to look for. But then I'm going to consolidate into 4 links. And if you just want to skip right ahead and get to those links, I'm going to have links 1, 2, 3, and 4 that have, kind of my top 4 things, or at least places on the web that you need to bookmark and familiarize yourself with. And if you get all 4 of these things down, that's going to be my best advice to you to prepare for the exam. I guess there's so much information that we can, talk about here in so many different ways to prepare, and you got to figure out your own personal path and what makes sense for you and where you're at. But I think if I can kind of condense everything down into the 4 most important links, what I'll do is I'll put those in the show notes at avshoptalk.com/episode 23. And if you just head over there, that'll take you to the to where all these links are. So, but before I get up to listing out all this information and sharing with you my personal plan and talking about some of the classes and which ones you should take or which ones I took and why I took the ones I took, and before I get into all that, I want to share a little bit about my personal history and why I'm even getting this thing called the CTSD. So this has been a goal of mine since about 2007. So I started working in commercial integration in 2007. My first job was at a company called HB Communications, which is headquartered in Connecticut, and I was working out of the Waltham office. Now, I had just graduated from UMass Lowell with a bachelor's degree in sound recording technology, and I saw those student loan bills coming, and I knew if I really wanted to pursue sound recording, I would probably have to, up and move to Los Angeles or New York or, maybe Nashville or, one of these places where there's, a lot of recording gigs and the music industry is hopping and happening at some of these places. And I don't know, just the lifestyle that I wanted and kind of where I was, it just didn't make sense to do that. And, I had this idea that, hey, there's people in commercial environments or maybe more corporate environments that they need audio video technology. I'm sure there's got to be opportunities there. And so in my mind, I kind of had this idea of corporate AV, and I wasn't quite sure what that was, but I started digging around, and I found like 10 what I would call corporate, at the time, corporate AV. Now I would call them more commercial integration companies in the Massachusetts and the Boston area. And at the top of the list was HB Communications, based on, size of the company. So they're like the biggest. They're known as like the biggest in the Northeast. So I figured that would be a good place to start. So interned over there, started pulling cable, doing terminations. I think it was like locked. I think the summer of 2007, I was in the basement of Harvard Business School for like the entire summer doing like, S video, working on like a giant like 64 by 64 S video switch, just doing BNC terminations and pulling cable and fiber and all kinds of stuff down there. They were doing all kinds of cool stuff at this big central media head end down there. So that was where I really got to see a lot of cool technology that I'd never seen before. And so I started with them in 2007. Got the full-time job shortly after. Was introduced to this thing called CTS. Now, I had never heard of that before, but people were talking about it. That, you'd hear talk around the water cooler. If you got your CTS, you get a raise or some sort of bump in salary. So there, I knew about these incentives to get this thing called a CTS. So, by October 29th, 2007, that's the I'm looking at the certificate right here. That is the date of my CTS. So I went out and had the opportunity to take the exam and get the general CTS courtesy of HB. And to prepare for that, I took the AV Essentials course, and I passed the test. So what that meant for me, as I've alluded to, is a little an immediate bump in salary. So that's always a good thing. And I think what it meant for the company was obviously a bump in employees that are holders of the CTS, but that also could impact bids and sales. So the company was incentivized to make sure they had a certain percentage of employees that were holders of the CTS. And, pretty much immediately after getting the CTS, I got a taste of this whole systems integration thing, and I pretty much knew right off the bat that I wanted to go for the D. And eventually, I knew I wasn't ready at the time, but eventually I wanted to get the D. I wanted to be a system designer. I wanted to choose that as my career. So fast forward now, almost 8 years later, so my goal of becoming a systems designer has come to fruition in terms of my title. So I'm currently an AV system designer for ImageStream Medical. And right now I'm focused on the integrated OR. But I still don't have the CTS-D yet, but I've been working towards it. So anyway, another thing I'm thankful for, and along the theme of Thanksgiving here, is just the opportunity to pursue the CTS-D, courtesy of ImageStream Medical. So this is one of the things I've been working towards for a long time. It's one of those goals, and I'm seeing it on the horizon, and I've scheduled the exam. That's where I'm at right now. I've got the CTS-D exam scheduled for January of 2016. So in the February episode, you'll find out if I passed or not. Hopefully I pass. But it's been a long time coming, and it's on the horizon. So now I'm starting to think, oh, geez, after I get the CTSD, now what? Now I need to keep setting these goals and trying to work towards different things. So I think sound system tuning is something I want to really sink my teeth into more and become really an expert in, and just practice that craft and learn some of the tools of the trade for really optimizing sound systems, sound reinforcement systems in difficult places. So that's probably the next thing. But anyway, that's getting a little ahead of the game. I still got to focus on studying my butt off at this point. And so if you're not familiar with the general CTS, that's like the entry level CTS exam. I know a lot of people that maybe they're just starting out in the industry and this is all new to them. The CTS is a great place to start. It's going to familiarize you with a lot of different things in the industry, and to prepare for just the regular CTS. A lot of people take the Essentials of AV Technology online course to prepare for that. And if you're super brand new to the industry, you might want to take the Quick Start to the AV Industry Online, a little introductory course there. But if you've been in the industry for a number of years, maybe 4 or 5 years, you probably know enough to take the test cold. It just depends on kind of what your specific role is and how comfortable you feel with it. But you could probably take the test cold for CTS. Now the CTS-D, which I've been in the process of prepping for the past year or so. I guess I haven't really been for the prepping for it continuously for the past year. I mean, I started the process in 2014 by taking a 3-day prep course out at Infocomm Las Vegas. But I didn't take the test right away because, we had a new baby in the family, and, when you're not getting much sleep, it's really tough to study for any type of exam. So anyway, that's my excuse for dragging this out so long, but I am going to suck it up and take the test. It's coming up soon. But the CTSD is definitely a much deeper dive compared to the CTS. I've heard that, you might be able to take the CTS cold, but the CTSD, unless you really know your stuff and you're familiar with Infocomm and kind of how they do things, it's going to be really hard to pass the CTSD test without any preparation. I don't know if I've heard many people doing that. If you have done it, I'd love to hear from you. Email Nate at avshoptalk.com. And if you have any other tips that you don't hear me mention later on in this episode, I'd also like to hear from you. So if there's some big tip that I have neglected to mention and you're waiting for me to say it and I just never say it, definitely shoot me an email and let me know, and I'll pass that info along. If you've taken the CTSD and you've passed it, I'd love to hear from you. So let me know. Now, I don't take the prep lightly. I'm really trying to carve out time in my schedule to learn this stuff. I'll share more about my approach later on, but the two big prerequisites for the CTSD is that you have to be a current CTS holder. So first things first, you got to get the CTS. And then the second big thing is you need to have 2 years of design experience, and you can have your supervisor fill out like a little recommendation form proving that you've got 2 years of design experience. Or I think the other option is to provide W-2s with relevant companies just to prove that you've got that work history. Those are the two prerequisites for the CTSD. You don't have to take any online courses, but it's highly recommended that you do take online courses. And we'll jump to the online courses in just a minute. I'll go through the different courses that I've gathered some information on. I'll share with you which course I decided to take and why. But the other thing is the application fee at this point in time in November, or we're almost into December now. So in December 2015, the fee was a $400 fee to take the exam. So cost, if you just want to take the exam, it's gonna be around $400. That price may change over time. I don't know what it will be years down the road, but at least at this point, it's $400. And if you think you can do it, awesome. Now, if you fail, you've got to pay another fee to retest. It's not another $400 fee, but it is still. I think it's still another $150 or $200 or something like that. So if you end up failing and you have to retake it, it's going to cost a little bit more money. So you kind of want to be pretty confident going into this, if possible. The other big thing is, so if you've been around the industry for a while, you used to have to go down to Fairfax, Virginia, and take the test in person. And it was a big travel commitment, a big time commitment. You need to take time away from family, time away from work, go down there, take the test. And it was a big deal. And recently, now with the CTSD gaining accreditation through ISO, their International Standards Organization, or International Organization of Standardization, they have set up controlled testing environments through Pearson VUE. So what happens is after you submit the application and you're accepted and they process your fee, you'll be prompted to create a Pearson VUE account and schedule an appointment at a nearby test center. So you can go to the website and look up Pearson VUE and figure out where the test centers are. I've got one that's maybe 25 minutes away from my house, so it makes it a little bit more convenient. And I believe that whole movement away from actually having to go down and take it in person was in this whole standardization process. I think that was one of the requirements there. So I think that's a good thing. I think it's convenient. But you will hear people, and I think I remember Tim Albright actually just mentioned this on an episode of AV Week recently. People would talk about the CTS-D, the big D and the little d. So it used to be the big D, and it was a much bigger deal to get the exam. It was a little bit more challenging. You had to actually go down and design a system and prove you knew what you knew. And now with Pearson VUE, test centers being the main way that you're tested or the exam is administrated, it's a multiple choice question. So it's the dynamics of the test have changed over time, but now there's an accreditation factor that's also added too. So at least that's my understanding of it. So so that's like a good intro is in terms of like general logistics and information, kind of a little bit about my personal history and the CTS. And I don't think I mentioned the CTS-I. So there are 3 types of certifications. There's the CTS, the CTS-I, and the CTS-D. D standing for design, I standing for install. So if you're an installer, you might want to go for the CTS-I. I don't have any interest in getting the I at this point. I'm just going to go straight for the D. And with that, why don't I list off, this is probably a good point in time to list off these 20 free resources that you can keep your eyes out for. And I'm going to run through them real quick just so you know all the free resources that are out there and you kind of hear what they're called and you can look them up. And then I'm going to share the 4 links to access these things. And I'll put those again in the show notes. So anyway, here, without further ado, here's my list of 20 free resources to get you started. So number 1, the CTSD practice exam. Number 2, the CTSD exam tutorial. Number 3, the CTSD exam study contract. Number 4, the CTSD Prep readiness checklist. Number 5, CTSD candidate handbook. Number 6, the CTSD math formulas. Number 7, the CTSD exam content outline. Number 8, the job task analysis. Number 9, the CTSD application. Number 10, the retest application. Number 11, the reinstatement application, in case you've let your CTS-D expire. Number 12, the CTS Code of Ethics. Number 13, the scoring frequently asked questions. Number 14, special accommodations, in case you have a disability of some sort. Number 15, healthcare documentation to go with that those special accommodations. You need to have healthcare document proving certain disabilities. I imagine that's what that's for. Number 16, replacement form in case you lose it. Number 17 is a link to a web page, how to prepare for CTSD. Number 18, study better, Infocomm video. And number 19, the Pearson VUE Sample Exam. And number 20, multiple choice testing webinar. So those are 20 free resources out there that are all offered at the Infocomm website. You can Google them, you can look them up. Maybe I'll put this list in the show notes. if that will be helpful. But I do think rather than linking to everything on here, I'll put the list in the show notes, and I'm going to put 4 links here. Now these are what I think are the most important of everything I just mentioned here. These are kind of like, these 4 links are kind of the gateway to all this information, and or the most important things that I think are important to make sure you're aware of in terms of the free resources. The first one is the CTSD exam tutorial. So I'll put a link here. This will be link number 1. The CTSD exam tutorial. So what this is actually an e-learning module. So it's like an interactive website that allows you to have access to pretty much everything that I just listed off. And it's structured in a very logical way where you can expand and minimize various things. And so if I just clicked on the link right now, I'm looking at it. It's taking me to a website. It says at the top, Infocomm International University, and it's got CTSD exam tips and tools. And if I look over here on the left, I've got this navigation panel, and I'm going to see CTSD tips and tools introduction, the CTSD exam process, test taking strategies, math strategies, CTSD practice exam, CTSD reflection. So there's this interactive kind of module here that is available for free, and you should just spend some time poking around there. That's going to give you a lot of information. Now this, listening to this podcast, listening to my voice right now, this is not going to help you pass the CTSD. This is going to give you the information that you need to sink your teeth into and dig into in order to pass the information. So that's kind of that's the very first thing is I'll put a link to the CTSD exam tutorial. Tons of information in there. In fact, I didn't even know it existed until this week when I started doing prep for this show. And that is definitely a gold mine of information right there. Let's see. The next thing I would say is the practice exam. So I'll put a link to the practice exam. Again, the practice exam is included in the CTSD exam tutorial, the very first link that I shared. But the practice exam is a great place to start because it's 100 questions, and I think it's 100 questions. I could be wrong about that. If my memory serves correct, I think it's about 100 questions. And, it's great to see if, you're getting a 20% on the practice exam or you're getting a 90%, just to kind of give you a milestone. I mean, the first time I took the practice exam, before I took any courses or classes to prep, I think I got like a failing grade on the practice exam. I think I took it twice and both times failed. And then I took a course and then I studied and then I took the exam a third time and I got like a 90% on the practice exam. So now I'm feeling a little bit more confident because I'm starting to pick up some of these things. So definitely good to take the practice exam. Right off the bat, just to see where you're at. See, the next thing I would do, the third link I'll share is like a definitely, one of my top 4 things to recommend, top 4 takeaways from this podcast episode here, is a link to a website. It's titled "How to Prepare for Your CTSD," and so this is just going to take you to an Infocomm website. And it's just got some really good info there. A bunch of links included over there to help you get started and off to the right track. And the last thing, the 4th link, I think is really good to make sure you familiarize yourself with. And this is one of those things where you probably wouldn't think to do it until like the night before you take the exam, but it's something that you definitely want to do. And it's a link to the Pearson VUE Sample Exam. So this is the dashboard on test day. When it's go time, when it's game time, and you got to take the exam, you don't want to be figuring out the navigation of how Pearson VUE sets up their tests. So this allows you, if I click on it right here, this is through Pearson VUE's website, and you just have to, it's a demo, and you see where the next button is. You see where the navigator is. You see basically how they format their testing, so you don't have to, spend any of your precious. It is a timed exam. You've only got a certain amount of time per question. So you really don't want to be wasting any time during the exam trying to figure out where the next button is or where the previous button is or how to flag questions to go back to them. You really want to, I'd say spend about a half an hour just kind of going through this Pearson VUE sample exam here, just to familiarize yourself with all that. So anyway, those are the 4 big links that you want to. So far, just as a quick recap, I've listed out a list of 20 free resources so far, and then I've got another list of 4 of what I would say are the best links that I would recommend, or the resources, the free resources that you can't skip, that you definitely need to familiarize yourself with. So I've got the list of 20, the list of 4 links. And the next thing I want to talk about here, the end of this episode here, is the classes. So there's a whole bunch of online classes you can take. As I mentioned before, you don't have to take any of them. None of the classes are prerequisite, but I think you would serve yourself well to take some combination of these classes. So I'm going to go through them I kind of organized them in order of price, at least price based on, the time right now. So the first thing is like the Essentials of AV Technology. That's one of the entry-level courses that you might want to take for CTS, but if you're not familiar with some of the lingo that Infocomm uses and how they approach things, definitely the Essentials of AV Technology, and that runs about $150. It's an online thing. The next class is Project Management for AV Online. Again, that's in the $150 range. It's a class you can take online. I've not taken that one. I've taken the Essentials. I think I've taken the Essentials a couple or 3 times maybe, just to because I needed to renew my certifications. I think I've taken that exam a couple times. The next one is AV Math for Design Online. That's another $150 class there. If you just need a refresher on the AV Math, might be a good one. Now, if you want to get more into the CTSD, some of this. So the first 3 things that I listed here are just kind of like the entry-level courses, good for refreshers. And if you really want to start digging in, you've got the CTSD Prep Virtual Classroom. So that's a 4-week online course, and that's about $600. But you can do it online, and so there's some convenience there. The next thing, and this is the one that I did. This is part of my personal path to certification here, is the CTSD Prep 3-day in-person course. So this was like a $1,200 3-day in-person thing at Infocomm. And I took it at Infocomm 2014 in Las Vegas with James Maltese. And so I was a student in that classroom. And the big benefit that I got from taking that course was the CTSD Prep Student Guide. So this is not listed under free resources. This is something that I don't think you can get it unless you take one of these in-person courses. I can't speak to the virtual classroom because I didn't take that one. I'm not sure what resources you get when you take that class, but I got this big honking 670-page 3-ring binder. I got a TI 30XS calculator. I think I got like a laser pointer and a ruler, and so the class came with some goodies to help prepare. But the most important goodie it came with was this student guide, and that's been a crucial part of my preparation process. So that's the course I took, and it was a lot because you have to go out there like the Saturday before Infocomm. You got to stay for Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's those 3 days, and then Tuesday I think Tuesdays you've got free to do, more classes if you want to, or you just get that day off and the show starts, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, if you're going out to Infocomm, it is a big commitment. A lot of people take the 3-day in-person course through Infocomm there at the trade show, and they just take the test there at the trade show. Taking the test at the show wasn't something I really wanted to do because time is such a commodity when you're down there. I figure I can take the test at a Pearson VUE center anytime, but Infocomm really only happens once a year, so I wanted to, or the big show, I should say, happens only once a year, so I really wanted to maximize time down there. So, plus I wanted to study more. I didn't want to just take the exam. So anyway, that's what I took. More on that in a little bit, but the next thing you can do is AV Design 1, which focuses on the environment. And you can take this a couple ways. You can take it online for $150, or you can go down and take the 3-day version of it down in Virginia in person, or actually, I'm not sure exactly where it's located. There might be, you might have some options for locations there. Now that I think about it, but that's like $1,500 if you do the in person. And then you got AV Design 2, which focuses on infrastructure, and that's $150 online, or $1,500 in person. And then the third one is AV Design 3, Applied Design, $150 online, or $1,500 in person. Now, I didn't see this anywhere, but there used to be something called the AV Design Bootcamp, or CTSD Bootcamp, and it was like a 9-day in-person course in Fairfax, Virginia. I don't know if that's still a thing. That used to be a thing. Maybe if you sign up for AV Design 1, 2, and 3 in person, it's just back to back to back to back. But anyway, I didn't see it anywhere on the website. I'm not sure if that's a thing. If you're listening to this from Infocomm, I'd love to hear from you, because I didn't see it in the store when I was searching around for it. But maybe that's just, you can't just sign up for the 9-day course. You've got to sign up for all these 3 back to back. Anyway, not sure how that works, but that is that's a big commitment, because you got to take 9 days away from your family. I mean, maybe they want you to take AV Design 1 for 3 days, and then take a couple months off, and then come back and do Design 2, and then space it out. I'm not sure what they're going for there, but you used to be able to do this like crazy boot camp type thing. So I'm not sure if they're still doing that or not, or what. But I know when I looked into it, it was just too much to leave my wife at home with the kids and spend 9 days doing that and not be able to work, and it was a lot. So anyway, my prep. Well, let's just talk about that. So let's round off this episode with a little chat about my personal path. So like I said before, I decided to do this 3-day class with James Maltese, Infocomm 2014 in Vegas. That was the first step, and I got all the material that I needed to study. Got exposed to all these different terms that I'm, sharing you, that big long list of 20 things. I dug into that, and those 4 links, really started digging into those, but also just study, hitting that book, that study guide, and just setting aside time to, pick off little chunks at a time, little hour block here, an hour block there, where I can get some time to myself to study. But, the biggest probably, and this might be a little bit of an unfair advantage for me, being that I'm a podcaster, is I have taken the initiative to record myself reading the student guide. So that 670-page book, I'm making my way through it, that student guide. And since I have about a 50-minute commute each way, I listen back to the material in that student guide on my commute. So I'm really trying to do some super study sessions there, make use of my commutes, and so that's been a big thing for me, because as I listen back, I can identify unfamiliar lingo and terms and kind of look them up again, and listen back another time. I can see if I still remember those things that were unfamiliar at one time. And the other big thing is identifying types of math problems. I think those are the two things I would boil the emphasis of my study plan down to is really identifying unfamiliar lingo, making sure that's I know it through and through, and identifying the math problems that I need to drill on repetitiously. So I was not very good at math. It took a lot for me to wrap my head around algebra, and somehow managed to get through Calc 2. But of course, I've forgotten all that since college, so I've got to go back and drill real hard on the algebra. But the nice thing is when there's AV involved, and then when there's acoustics involved, or calculating room modes, or speaker coverage patterns, like that makes math come alive to me. So that gives math kind of a purpose that is fun and exciting. So I don't mind learning the math for those reasons. But when I was in school, just learning the math just for the sake of learning math, it was like dead to me. It didn't do anything. I couldn't wrap my head around it. But when I started, applying it to acoustics, the Helmholtz, frequency, calculation formula, like that was kind of a cool thing. So I don't think the Helmholtz formula is required for the CTSD, but that type of stuff I do get into. So I do have that going for me, even though I'm not really much of a math person. It doesn't come natural to me at all. I really have to bang my head against the wall to learn this stuff. But I think it's worthwhile, and I think it'll make me a better designer. So I think it's a good thing. So like I mentioned before, drill on the math, really hit the algebra skills hard. So, order of operations isn't something I'm trying to think about on the day of my exam. It's just something I kind of know. And the practice exam, I've taken it 3 times now, failed the first 2 times, passed the third. So definitely making improvements. And I took the Pearson VUE sample exam to familiarize myself. So that's familiar with me. So that's been kind of my personal path, my approach. I can't say if that will be the best approach for you. That depends on your personal experience and how much you know already. But hopefully this episode has helped you process some of this stuff and kind of figure out, maybe what you need to know and what you don't know. I'm sure you may be familiar with the stages of knowing. You don't know what you don't know. You know what you don't know. You don't know what you know. Wait, what are the 4 stages? And there's a 4th one in there. Wait a minute. I got this confused. So you don't know what you don't know. You know what you don't know. You know what you know, and you don't know what you know. So maybe that really confused everybody. But so anyway, hopefully this opened your eyes to some new things there, or helped you figure out, how to take the initiative or the next step. Maybe you're setting some New Year's resolutions. You want to get back into the CTSD game. Maybe it's been on the back burner. Anyway, hopefully this episode has helped you process some of that. Or maybe it's just put you to sleep completely. I don't know. But anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this episode. It is my first time doing a completely solo episode. So I am not afraid of honest criticism and constructive criticism. Love to know what you thought about the episode. We do release a monthly email that you can sign up for free at avshoptalk.com, where we let you know by email when we've got a new episode. But of course, we're also in iTunes, Stitcher, BlackBerry. There's an app for Android that I really like called Pocket Casts, where I consume all my podcast media through, and soon to be Google Play. So the podcast, the AV Shop Talk podcast, has been submitted to Google Play. And right now, we're just waiting for Google Play to make the big unveil and start releasing podcast content. So apparently, Google's going to be trying to curate specific episodes of podcast based on activity and what you're doing. And they're going to try to do some sort of smart calculation to figure out what podcast you need to listen to when. So, maybe if you're Google CTSD enough, you'll automatically get prompted to listen to this episode. Who knows? I have no idea what crazy things Google has up their sleeve. But anyway, we've submitted the show. When podcasts become available in Google Play, our show should be there. So keep an eye out for that if you've got an Android device. And we'll talk shop with you in the next episode of AV Shop Talk. The AV Shop Talk podcast is produced independently by Jason Griffin and myself, Nate Schneider. Musical contributions have been provided by Colin Owens. Voiceover contributions have been provided by John Perry. If you'd like more information about what you just heard, please visit avshoptalk.com/episode 23.